Bad First Impression, a podcast about movies and where we meet them. Every week, a guest and I go to a film screening here in New York City and discuss the theater experience and how it affected our impressions of the film. Except for today, for the first time, we're not actually covering a movie. We're covering a TV show that we still went to go see in a theater, kind of, because we had some plans that kind of fell through. We'll get to that in a minute here. Just go ahead and say, I'm your host, Devin Warner, and today we are talking about
The Curse.
That works better with longer titles. You know what I mean? Like last week we had like a long drawn out title of a subject. And we had to I feel like saying things in sync. Like let's say we're not covering this, but like, okay, so let's, on the count of three, let's both say Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind together. That'll be more satisfying. 1, 2, 3.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Make sure to put that in the title so that more people listen.
Yes. See, but like, do you see how that was more satisfying than saying The Curse in tandem?
Sure.
Like that was too short.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway, we're talking about The Curse today, the new Nathan Fielder, Benny Safdie project.
Do those have any crossover? No.
Between
like
Eternal Sunshine.
Nothing at all.
Because here's the thing. The cast to The Curse is pretty spare. It's, I would say, like, there's obviously like some knowns who have kind of like bit parts. It's really like 5 people deep. There's not that many people in it. We're talking about The Curse, which we saw some of in theaters. I feel like we should probably maybe start in here with the qualifiers. So I saw that after the first 3 episodes premiered at the New York Film Festival back in October, I saw that they were showing each like set of next 2 episodes as like their own thing scattered out 2 weeks apart until like as the show is airing. And I thought, oh, that would be like kind of a fun, interesting concept, right? We'll just go see this. Like that's the easiest concept of all in relation to this, right? Let's just take something that's literally not a movie, put it in the context of a movie, and discuss it that way. My guest today is Lily Steinberg, by the way. I don't think I made that clear. She's returning to the show. She is our producer, social media manager, and I guess sometimes co-host. You usually are here to talk about the new release or kind of like whatever is zeitgeisty. You're here because originally our plan was to we were going to see this, I think, in 4 separate screenings.
Yeah, I think we were going to see everything except for the first 3 that were
premiered at the film festival that they
we
weren't
chose to see movies instead.
Re-airing for GA. So then successively, each one of those things fell through. So let's see. We didn't see the first 3 because we booked other movies at the film festival.
But we chose that. Like we were like,
that was a conscious one.
Yeah, we were like, we can watch that.
And that was prior to conception of this episode or really this podcast.
I think, yeah, completely.
Episode 4 and 5, when I went to go book, I had noticed they had already announced that Benny Safdie would be there, and that sold out immediately.
Yep.
So I went instead and I booked the remaining 3 showings. One's for episode 6 and 7, one's for episode 8 and 9, one for the finale. And then we were like a couple days before episode 6 and 7, I think we ended up having like an engagement that we just couldn't get out of going to. Like we just didn't really have a choice.
Frankly, I don't remember what happened that time.
I'll tell you off mic. It's just, It's a personal detail.
Sure.
I just don't want to. It's nothing
Sorry,
embarrassing.
that's my bad.
But
I truly don't remember.
It was your fault. But like it was something of yours, not of mine. But we ended up like mutually making the decision. Oh, we probably we should go to that instead.
Okay.
And then we were gonna go see episode 8 and 9 together. Like we were finally buckled down. We had set it aside, and then you had COVID.
I did have COVID, but I didn't know I had COVID yet. I was still like, we were like.
Did you feel shitty at that time?
I was sick on Wednesday, and then Thursday I woke up and I was basically better, except that I was getting over being sick, but I had like congestion. But that was kind of all I had. So it wasn't until midday that I was just like, I don't think I should go. I don't really want to be sitting there sniffling. I don't want to upset people. I don't have COVID, but I don't want them to think I have COVID, and I'd rather sit at home and drink water. And yeah, it turns out I had COVID. So it's a good thing I didn't go.
Yeah. It was, so you missed a pretty rowdy evening because
I missed the big one.
Yeah, there were extra VIPs there. 1 second, let me pull up the list of people here.
And I could have gotten all of them sick. It's really too bad.
So episode 8 and 9, everything but the finale basically had Benny Safdie, Nathan Fielder, Emma Stone, Najonia Luxie Austin, and the producer Dave McCary were all there, and they did a quite lengthy Q&A. They were not all there for the finale.
Only Benny Safdie
was there, who I think he had been there for all of them. He was probably at the New York Film Festival. Like, he was probably also there.
Most likely.
I just can't tell you for sure if he was there or not. But up until I saw episodes 8 and 9, and up until Lily saw the finale, everything up to what we saw in a theater, we just watched at home because there was no other opportunity to see these screened, and probably not really ever will be again.
Yeah, I don't see why they
that's
would.
why this felt like a unique opportunity, because I think you and I, the only time I can think of that we've done this before is we saw the pilot for Love and Death at the Alamo like a year or two ago.
They do that sometimes. And Walter Reed will also take a show and put it there.
Once in a blue moon, it's like if there's like kind of a big name director attached to it, they'll invite them there for it.
Yeah.
There's another upcoming one actually that, funny enough, I guess this is turning into a TV recap podcast. We will actually be covering later in this month, so look out for that. But
I'll recap anything if it's in a theater. I would go and watch like 3 hours of music videos and talk about it if it were in a theater that I liked.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they do.
That would have to be rowdy.
Honestly, so this is actually kind of similar to like some other stuff that goes on. I know they do like, what is it? It's like Tunes and Spoons, I think is what they call it at the Nighthawk, where they show like Saturday morning cartoon clips at the Nighthawk. It's like bi-monthly. The Roxy does one where they play.
Are the spoons heroin?
Like, you eat cereal with Saturday morning cartoons.
Okay.
Why did you assume heroin before cereal? I would assume cereal before heroin, but that's just me.
I don't know. It's just where my brain went.
It
just sounded more relaxing.
It sounded good? It sounded relaxing.
It sounded more relaxing with a Saturday morning cartoon. Cereal can be cold sometimes. It's cold outside right now.
Okay. Sorry. I don't have a follow-up. Kind of similar like programming stuff. I feel like they'll do like Bugs Bunny cartoons at Metrograph.
We could go
like
to
on
the
Saturday.
infant screenings and talk about what it's like to be at an infant screening.
I think that, oh God, I think they're every like Tuesday. It's like Tuesdays at the Tuesday afternoons at the Nighthawk. And they're just like, I think they leave the lights on, and
I know
your
they leave
kids
the
are
lights
allowed
on
to
for the
scream
kids
as much as you want.
Yeah. I know for the kids screenings, they leave the lights on and it's basically like a playground.
Yeah. And they have ones that you just be like, why would you, was it? They saw one for like, I saw there was one for Killers of the Flower Moon, which is wild.
Well, so you can see it, but your infant's not going to remember that.
No, they're not going to be like, you can just hold them the other way of the screen. It's not that big a deal.
That movie's long. How much breastfeeding do you think happened in there?
A fair amount to a lot is going to be the range that I put it in for the amount.
Honestly, just curious. Like,
yeah. I don't know.
They got to be okay with that. It's an infant screening.
Yeah. Do you think it's weird to breastfeed your kid
in a movie theater?
While
watching a
while
really
Lily
exciting
Gladstone is being poisoned?
Honestly, I think that when you're breastfeeding, it is just such a normal part of your life that you don't think about it. Because
I imagine.
Because when you're breastfeeding, your baby gets so used to it that they'll just like pull your boob out and put it in their mouth.
Yeah.
And you just won't even really think about it because you'll be like, yeah, this happens 6 times a day.
And I think you just get to a point where you're like, and I'm saying this is from the perspective of somebody who has never breastfed or been in a partnership with somebody who was breastfeeding. But yeah, I feel like it's just something that you just kind of get normalized.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think that's probably normal.
Yeah. But the Roxy also does one where they'll do like shorts on like 16 millimeter, but they're usually their series is kind of funny. They're like old like puppetry acts.
Oh, that's cute.
Is what they'll do. But I think they're like, they're kind of like more alt stuff.
And then I think it was Alamo does other weird stuff sometimes. Like they did that. What was that? The like very special episode thing?
Yeah, they did clips from very special episodes of like.
Oh, I thought it was
sitcoms.
Full episodes. I thought it was three full episodes.
I think it was like clips from those episodes.
It's also fun. I thought it was like just three full 30-minute episodes.
3 episodes. Either way,
I think that's a really fun idea.
These are ways that you can see TV and other shorter form content. Just at least in terms of like what's regularly scheduled programming around the city. Yeah. So there are options for other stuff like this. And yeah, probably every so often a premiere of like a new streaming show is if it has, somebody a big name attached to it. Opening thoughts on The Curse. I just would go ahead and say this is in really strong contention for maybe the most unpleasant thing I've ever watched.
Ever in my entire life.
It's not scary per se. I don't know.
It's very rare for me to be like, I won't watch that again with it not being something that is intentionally like gory. Usually that's the kind of thing where it's something that's like the movie Martyrs. That's the kind of thing that it's really gory and also really emotional. And I'm like, I don't need to do that ever again. I'm good. But like, so it's rare to find something that's not that I look at and I go, I can't do this again.
It's not quite like cringe.
It's cringe adjacent.
It's cringe adjacent, but I as in not saying it's not quite cringe in that it isn't cringe. It's a step beyond cringe.
It's cringe comedy adjacent. It has a similar feeling to watching something like that.
The way
that switch my feet.
Yes, the way that it kind of combines the I'm like, so actually we'll just go ahead and address this here. There's a new couch here at the studio. I love it because it's more comfortable than the previous chair.
But yeah, I'm getting used to
and I'm like
how
also
I'm supposed
like
to sit here.
We're up at like we're sitting at the same level here. But we're both like leg crossers, I think. And I always wear like work boots.
I mean, I'm wearing boots right now.
Yeah. So we're like,
my toes do not feel good.
I mean, this sucks for people who are just listening to this, but there's like limited real estate because we're sitting at like 90-degree angles from each other.
Oh, we'll attach pictures of our shoes. It's
fine.
We'll
attach pictures of the shoes.
I'll put them in the graphic.
Yeah. And we're doing this unique thing where I'm stepping on your foot in midair.
Yes.
Because I'm like, if I try to, I'm going to really try and get on a streak here. I'm going to try and sit upright with both my feet planted on the ground without constantly fidgeting the entire time. And we'll see how long this lasts.
I can't do that without like playing with my clothing.
Yeah. But back to The Curse.
Yes. The thing the episode is about. Yes.
It's not about couch talk.
It's not about shoes. It's not about playing footsie on the couch.
We'll do the couch talk podcast after this.
Okay.
So it kind of combines the sensibilities of Fielder and Safdie a little bit, which is that Fielder likes to intentionally provoke, like he does bizarre things to intentionally provoke reactions from people who feel like they should be in an ordinary situation. And in a Safdie project, it's more about how all of us as quote unquote normal people have these compulsions to do things that create those extraordinary and shocking circumstances to an involuntary degree. And it kind of combines those two. So you have somebody who is involuntarily doing what Nathan Fielder does all the time, which is just outright confusing and upsetting everybody in his immediate vicinity.
I don't know what his problem is.
Who's he?
Nathan Fielder?
Nathan Fielder in this scenario?
Yeah.
Because Nathan Fielder's not the guy that you have expressed the biggest problem with during this time. When we were watching this at home, every time Benny Safdie is on screen, and by the way, before we get into it, just as always, but this week especially, we're spoiling the whole thing. I'm sorry. There's no way to talk about it.
10 episodes.
Especially because there's so much to talk about with the finale.
Yeah. And that's the one that we saw. That's the one that this is about.
All the talk thus far
has not been spoilers.
I hope it doesn't deter you. It is a
good show.
It's an intense watch, but it's a great show. I really strongly recommend that you watch it and come back and listen to or watch this, because I don't want to be the reason that I've spoiled The Curse for you. I really think it's worth your time.
I recommend watching it over the course of 6 weeks and then coming back here.
Yeah. Well,
I wouldn't binge that show.
Well, you wouldn't, but maybe they would. Maybe they would binge it and they would come back and listen to this soon.
Go for them. Good for them. Wow.
So, that being said, from here on out, we're in spoiler zone the rest of the episode. When we're watching this at home, Fielder's character is not the one that you reacted to the most negatively, the most frequently.
I know.
Do you want to talk about the person who upset you the most?
You want me to talk about Dougie?
Yeah.
Oh
Dougie
my God. He's just the most frustrating man. And he plays him so well. I've never seen him look like that, and the way that he embodies that guy is just really nuts.
It is weirdly let me ask you this, because there's nose prosthetic discourse this year. Is that a nose prosthetic?
I don't think so. I think that's just what he looks like.
I think that like the weird, you know what his hair looks like is, do you remember in that I Think You Should Leave sketch where the guy across the bar is making fun of Tim Robinson for having hair that looks like a poodle? That's what Benny Safdie's wig looks like in the show. And I think the kind of like, and he's wearing like Groucho Marx sunglasses. They're these big dramatic like open frames. And I think it makes his nose look bigger.
It's probably just that. I think his face looks like his face, personally.
Yeah. He has this kind of like bizarre, like lumpy face. And it's like
like Play-Doh.
Yeah, yes, it does. It really does look like somebody
very
pinched.
Interesting
it looks like somebody pinched his
like he's a guy where I'm
upward.
like, I'm actually surprised that you were behind the camera for so long, because you look like a guy who should be in front of the camera.
He's really clearly a guy who is interested in the art of acting.
He's interested in doing everything, and also he is such an extrovert. Like, having seen him live,
yes,
he is so charming.
So I guess the thing is, especially because we're talking about the finale in particular, but we are talking about a whole season of TV here. I guess we should give a little bit of context here. Hopefully you watched it, but the curse kind of starts out. It's Nathan Fielder and Emma Stone. This is a really convoluted setup here.
Yeah.
But they are a couple who is in the process of filming a pilot for a prospective HGTV show.
Yeah.
In which they move into a home in a neighborhood where they have bought up a bunch of property with the intention of making what they call what are they?
Eco-friendly homes.
Yeah, there's a term they use, and it's like it's something. They're passive homes is what they call them, and they're homes that basically they have no carbon footprint because they have cooling systems built into them, and they're all made out of these truly nightmarish looking like reflective panels that are kind of like funhouse mirrors. They're not exactly just like straight up reflective mirrors.
Yeah.
They build these houses I think it's in New Mexico, right? Yeah. There's Espanola is the name of the neighborhood. So they build them there. And then another angle to their show that you're finding out they're having a really hard time sustainably committing to is that at the same time, to avoid becoming gentrifiers, basically, they also want to be making sure that there is affordable housing for people who have historically already lived there.
Helping people, quote unquote, helping people who have been displaced by gentrifiers.
Yes, while gentrifying the neighborhood.
While fully gentrifying the neighborhood.
So basically they are trying to find, like, the concept of the show within the show is so like twisted and convoluted that like it's like your first tip off is you're like, okay, so obviously this is never gonna work. I think that the original title for the show is Fliplanthropy.
Fliplanthropy, yeah.
Fliplanthropy. It's one of those ones that I'm like, it's so perfectly terrible.
It was so the first time I heard that, I really was just like, wow. Yeah, wonderful.
It's so perfectly terrible because it sounds like something.
Yeah.
It does sound like something that somebody would think up in like 30 seconds.
Yeah,
and
totally.
It would be the first pitch.
Oh, and it sounds like something that someone thought of while they were watching one of those shows.
Yes. So they're filming this pilot, and they have Benny Safdie plays Dougie, who is the kind of director, creative force.
Worst man who's ever existed. Yeah.
Yeah. A guy who just, you keep finding out more and more about his background.
He's a psychopath.
That he is just a scumbag.
Yeah.
He's just a real piece of shit. And he seems to have no sense of shame or self-awareness that his actions are even harmful to other people.
Yeah.
It's some combination of like, you can see just enough that like, just enough awareness that this has to be denial, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I also think, honestly, my favorite thing about the character, obviously, I know I talk a lot of shit about him, but obviously he's a good character. My favorite thing about the character is like, when it comes to the show, that he has his own super twisted version of what he wants because he thinks that that would be entertaining, but it has nothing to do with what he thinks the public would find entertaining, what he thinks would be picked up, what the network would think. It's all completely him.
It is a projection he is putting onto the audience based off of some combination of his desire to like have creative input and like a kind of contempt for his audience.
Yeah, I think it's also a bit of sadism of like
A little bit.
How can I put these people in the worst possible situation?
Yes, he's absolutely.
And those are some of the more frustrating things to watch, where he's like setting this stuff up, and you can see what he's doing.
Yeah. So that's kind of the basic setup.
Yeah.
And then something that happens in a really early episode is that while filming a promo,
I think this is the first episode.
This is either first or second. I think it's the first episode. Nathan Fielder's character, who is Asher is his name. He gives a like little girl selling things in a parking lot.
Yeah, she's selling little cans of Sprite.
He like for the camera performatively gives her $100, asks for it back because he's like, that's too much to give you for a can of soda. And then the little girl says, I curse you. And a big running theme is his anxiety over like, is that curse real or not? And we'll get into the rest of the plot as we go. Just, I think those are all the important, like kind of groundwork things you need to know going into it. But before we get back to like the actual show proper, I wanted to bring up, how do you feel this show operates in conversation with and as a reaction to his previous two shows, Nathan For You and The Rehearsal? Because so I rewatched the first season of Nathan For You, a show I've seen, I don't know, 3-4 times. I love Nathan For You. It is actually really funny seeing how ambitious and high concept he's gotten when, especially the first season of Nathan For You is essentially like a prank show. Like
it is. Yeah. I found the clip of him in the like mock job interview with the kid giving him answers recently. I've watched that like 6 times this week. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's great.
But like, yeah, it is like a prank. It's like watching what's that prank show? Pranked. The Ashton Kutcher show. Thank you. Oh no, that's like the most old woman thing I've ever said.
You forgot what Punked was called in the way that somebody who's too old to have watched Punked
if it helps, I spelled it in my head as prank 'D, which I think is how Punked is spelled. So I got that part.
Yeah. I mean that we don't have a graphic up or anything, so there's no visual aid for anybody else. We're not inside your head.
I'm just letting you know I got that part right. But I'm not that old.
It's funny to have watched that stuff because obviously he has other stuff before him, but that's probably what most people were introduced to him with.
That's how he got to the place that he is now.
Watching that, and I'm like, I actually think it's one. They're all the stunts he pulls are really funny. Yeah. And two, it is a particularly like ambitious. At the time we were like, this is kind of like a prank show, but it's ambitious for that. It did feel really like nuts what he was doing every episode, and that's what was fun to watch. Was being like, oh my god, and it felt kind of high concept, like some of the stuff. At the time, especially. I think I found it from like clips on Tumblr because people were posting it like, look at this shit. Yeah. He would, the best moments on the show, on Nathan For You, are when he would be talking to just people who didn't know that what he was doing was supposed to be a comedy show, that he was actually trying to, give them help, or that he had maybe asked to play along to a degree. So some way or another, he's got these people kind of thrown off kilter a little bit. Yeah. But the best moments are when he just accidentally strikes gold because a person says or does something that he just has. Yeah. There's a scene where he has been helping a gas station. Yep. And at the end, he's talking to the person, the owner of the establishment. And that guy says to him, because Nathan says something along the lines of like, oh, I've not been feeling well, I've been tired. And he advises him to drink his grandson's pee. And you can see the look. It's also the first place my brain went. You can see the look on Nathan's face where he's like, I have to stay in the moment because I've just hit gold. Yeah. I have like, and I like, there's I can't tell him that's insane. He's like, I couldn't have written this. Exactly. And then he rolls right into it and he like makes a joke out of it. But that's how, those are the moments that like make Nathan For You really shine. Yeah. And I think that's where you find the base of his. He likes to go into regular situations and either kind of gaslight people into feeling crazy enough through his actions, or just doing crazy enough things in front of them that they respond extremely. Yeah. I don't know. Do you see any other like roots of Nathan For You in this show?
Sorry that I'm pausing for so long. I'm truly just like, I don't really know because it has a similar feeling just because he just gives off such a specific energy, but it's not really the same type of comedy even.
There was cringe there.
Yeah.
But it was less about that, and it was more this joke about he was playing a character named after himself. And the character in there is the joke was kind of that, like, this is the loneliest guy in the world and he's so desperate for attention. Mm-hmm. He just won't get out of his own way or admit that he's socially awkward and that maybe he needs a little bit of help in this stuff. And the convoluted like business solutions he comes up with are, you know, kind of like metaphorical for the fact that he can't ever just try and sit down and have a normal conversation with somebody. And if they're compatible as friends or to date, then that'll just work out.
Sure.
This, looking at that element is really not really here in The Curse.
No, I don't know. I feel like he's too involved with other things just because he has to be more of a character, more of a well-rounded character in this because it's fiction.
He's playing a character who you can kind of tell, and this like worsens over the course of it. Him and Emma Stone are married, and Emma Stone, you can tell, is starting to question whether being with Nathan Fielder is like is the right call for her.
Yeah.
And she's quite a selfish person, and she's starting to see, or starting to ask herself, can I take up as much space as I would like to if I have to share the stage with this guy?
Yeah. Well, but also that there's also a big thread that it's not necessarily clear how much of him is real and how much of it is just to please her.
Yes.
Because he thinks that he needs to have her. Exactly.
Yeah.
And she's like seeing that over the course of the show. I think.
Sorry.
I don't care. I wouldn't have noticed if you didn't
I'm just
say
telling
anything.
you I have to do it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for telling me. I'm really happy that you trust me with that information.
Yes. So there's kind of that element of like doing too much to force a relationship to work.
Yes.
But other than that, the Nathan For You character is not really there.
No, he's
anymore.
Desperate, but in a very different way.
Yeah.
And I think that because part of what's so intense about Nathan For You is that he's playing a character, and in the context of the show, other people are not.
Yeah.
Whereas that's just not here.
Yes. And the character he's playing is kind of, he is metatextually like inflicting him on the people on the people around him. He's invented this character. It's like a Charlie Kaufman thing where he's like, I've invented this guy, not Charlie Kaufman. Who's the guy from Taxi? Shit. This is really embarrassing. I'm gonna have to like put up a graphic or something correcting me. The Man on the Moon guy that Jim Carrey played in Man on the Moon. Do you not know who I'm talking about? Oh my God. Andy Kaufman. Thank you, Connor. Appreciate it. I always say Charlie Kaufman.
I was just rolling with you. I was like, yeah, weird guy, weird stuff.
Do you not, serious question, do you not know who Andy Kaufman is? That's fine. That's okay. It's an old reference. You don't have to frown. I'm not. So he's kind of doing that where he's like, wouldn't it be so funny if I invented this guy and made him react with other people who like are not also characters?
Yeah. It's kind of like Borat.
Kind of like Borat. I'm wearing this because it actually in between Nathan For You and the rehearsal, which I want to talk about next, Nathan Fielder is actually a writer on Sacha Baron Cohen's TV series, Who is America, which is one of the single craziest things I've ever seen put on television.
Yeah. That's got a similar feeling to the Nathan Fielder shows.
That's more like that's
more in line with Nathan For You.
More than any of the other shows. That's closer to Nathan For You, I think. And that it is Sacha Baron Cohen using a lot of his old, like, I think some of them might be from Dolly G show.
I think they're all new because everyone knows all the other ones.
They're in the same comedic wheelhouse.
Yes, yeah, of course.
But
he had to make new characters to get away with it.
And he's going in and doing basically, Borat with the Borat concept with different characters. Nathan Fielder is a writer on that show. It has some of the, I mean, if you haven't seen Who is America,
it's a really good show.
I do genuinely recommend it. It's like 6 episodes.
It's really upsetting.
As a result of that show, a Georgia state assemblyman lost his position because of what he did on the show, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And you have a similar moment as you did with Nathan Fielder and the gas station attendant, where you see Sacha Baron Cohen when this guy, I'm not going to spoil it for you, when this guy starts doing and saying the things he does, that you see Sacha Baron Cohen, even through heavy makeup.
Yeah. He's like, I cannot believe he's actually doing this.
I cannot believe I have baited you into doing this. It's bug nuts insane.
Really, yeah.
So I want to move on to the still fairly recent show that I believe has a second season coming. Nathan Fielder's The Rehearsal, where he is playing a guy.
Good show.
I would argue he was still playing a character. He's not playing himself.
No, he's playing a similar character.
He's playing a character who, in the world of this character, he's previously made a show called Nathan For You where he played a character. So he's like making a Russian nesting doll, getting closer and closer to who he actually is in the real world.
Yeah.
The rehearsal, I don't even know. Do you want to even like try and like, what is the pitch of The Rehearsal?
I'd rather not. I think it'll take too long.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. There is actually a simple pitch. He's like, what? I'm so worried about how a situation will go or that it'll go wrong. That what if I created a situation where people could rehearse these things and then they wouldn't have to worry about them going wrong because they would have already practiced them.
That show is so good.
Really quickly, he breaks form and starts doing something completely else. And the whole show becomes this one extended joke about how he can't help but make these things about himself. And it's kind of a commentary on, that he'd been doing these things prior, that they were nominally within the world of the show about helping other people, which is another element that kind of plays into the curse, that they were about, quote unquote, helping other people. And they're more about Nathan getting to do what he wants more than anything else.
Yeah.
The Rehearsal, I think, if anything, actually, because of Nathan For You, he goes into as a known quantity. People know who this guy is. He had a show that lasts.
And they know it's going to be crazy.
3 or 4 seasons. They're like, oh shit, Nathan Fielder's got a new thing.
The weird guy's coming back.
And then he spent the entire run of that show, it was kind of like a mini sensation, doing these bizarre public appearances where he would show up. They would like film him at a Mets game or something. And he looked like he would rather be dead than be on camera. And he kept doing that. There was like, social media was like, oh, Nathan Fielder's hot, which he is. And I feel like he was brought up a lot, like for a while. And that's kind of the thing that brings him to like superstardom, you know?
Fuck, marry, kill, Benny Safdie, Nathan Fielder, Emma Stone.
That's actually a really hard one. I think you have to, no offense, I think you have to kill Benny Safdie, right? Like there's no other way you do it. And then like, see, here's the thing. I think that Nathan Fielder has spent his entire career arguing that you really should not marry him.
Yeah, and Emma Stone is probably, honestly, probably kind of a normal partner to have.
Yes.
Because she's definitely like a weird lady, but she's weird in like, she's weird in the way that like most ladies are weird. Yeah, exactly.
She, unlike Nathan Fielder.
She's very funny and she's very charming.
Unlike Nathan Fielder, she has not made a career out of asking the public to acknowledge her grappling with her inability to just kind of act normal for a minute.
I have a question. In Fuck, Marry, Kill, do you have to kill the person? Like with your hands?
As in like, yeah, you do. I mean, or stab or shoot them.
Yeah, like they don't just drop dead. You have to kill them.
In the same way that you would have to fuck or marry them.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
But you have to be the agent.
Yeah, you have to be the one who does it. I don't care how you do it. I
don't think it means you have to specifically do it any particular way.
No, you don't have to do it with your bare hands. No, but you do have to be, you have to look this person in the eye.
Yeah, in the way that like they'll give you a wedding ring. I don't want to
look into his eyes.
In the way they give you a wedding ring or a condom, I think they would also give you a gun. Like the Fuck, Marry, Kill people. Whoever it is that runs that. I don't know.
Really silly like 2017 type movie where they make a serious horror movie about Fuck, Marry, Kill. Yeah. It's like Saw but bad.
Yeah. So because it is the one that we both saw in a theater, I want to talk about the finale a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
The whole show is, I would say,
you don't want to talk about your episodes first with the Q&A?
No, I think I'd rather save that for the section where we talk about the audience and about kind of the theater experience overall. But I kind of want to talk about the finale because I want to talk about seeing this in a different format than maybe it was made for, which not maybe it was made for, is made to be watched at home. It's a TV show. So the show up until the finale, and here's like, extra, like, truly the finale is insane. If
you ignored us and you didn't listen and you didn't watch any of the show,
I'm really advising you not to listen.
Go watch the finale
if you've not seen the finale.
At the very least.
The finale, up until that point, had not been supernatural, nothing. There were eerie moments. That was kind of the closest, but there was never any, and there was never even any strong suggestion one way or another.
No, I do think there was. They were trying to invoke the idea with the idea of
They
the
wanted
curse.
you to think it's possible.
Yeah, exactly.
But in the finale, after there's a time jump, the show is out. It's doing moderately successful.
Mhm.
They're starting pre-production on season 2. And Whitney's pregnant. Whitney, Emma
9
Stone's
months
character,
pregnant.
is crazy pregnant. And you're into the show, you're a few minutes into the show, and it just opens on Emma Stone and Nathan Fielder waking up. And Nathan Fielder is on the ceiling and he can't get down. And he tries moving around the ceiling, and it's as if gravity is reversed. This is, in a way that is just not precedented in the show, this is an incredibly impressive set piece. The filmmaking and the behind the scenes work that went into this is
awesome.
Nuts. It looks great.
It looks amazing.
And this is the one that I think, if there were an argument for this was intended to be seen in a theater, this is the episode.
Yeah. I mean, because I don't know if they always knew they were going to have this in a theater, but I wonder if they did and they were like, cool.
Yeah. This is a really ambitious
really
episode. Good. And the way that episode plays out is that it's this kind of long, like kind of action comedy set piece where he tries to get down. He's like, oh, there's like a weird air pressure thing because
they're in the weird house,
the eco house, and they try opening doors and turning this off or turning that off, and eventually, he finds his way outside, where in the same way that gravity pulls us down onto the ground, he's pulled indefinitely up into the atmosphere.
Yeah. I have not stopped thinking about the way that he delivers the line when he's holding onto the tree.
Yeah, I should say he comes out onto the balcony. The doula, who's been called because, of course, during this, Whitney has started like labor.
Yeah, of course.
They call. I think it's a doula, right?
Yeah.
He makes the situation worse by, when trying to pull him down off the like awning at the front of the house, he flings him up into into a tree,
a really big tree. But yeah, there's that point where he's holding onto it and the fire department's there and trying to get him down. They're like, just let go. And just the way he says, if I let go, I will fly away is so funny. Because it's really funny, but you're also like, but it's also really, really tense. Yeah. It like feels really intense, but it's such a funny way of saying that.
It's really scary because the threat, even if it's like totally ridiculous and really kind of visually absurd, it's so easy to understand.
It feels real.
We all know.
We've saw it.
Well, we all know what gravity feels like.
Yeah.
And just the idea of picturing how disorienting having that reversed would be.
Nothing's scarier to me than the idea of floating through space alive for like an extended amount of time.
Well, he dies
presumably
pretty quickly.
Presumably, I'm just saying. Because he's just accelerating like faster. Yeah, you probably
and faster.
Die immediately.
He
from like the pressure, frankly.
From pressure, or like you
same with going too far underwater.
You'll like burn up in the atmosphere. A truly terrible way to die. Not one that I think anybody here is at any serious risk of.
Like the sub, but in reverse.
Yes. Wait, what sub?
The submarine.
Oh yeah, this is kind of an opposite of the submarine expedition. This episode, I think, undoubtedly benefited from being seen in a theater. I'm really glad I saw this.
Well, because like in a way that people will sometimes performatively laugh because they feel like they have to laugh, this was a really good one to be nervous laughing during with people.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that a little bit. When we watched the show at home, we were like, our reaction to it was often, I would say for me anyway, I'd be like, oh my God. Like I would like shout.
I scream
like,
a lot.
Oh my God.
There were, because I watched a couple episodes without you because you saw 2 of them in the theater that I didn't see with you.
Yeah.
And I watched them without you and you weren't home. And I was like screaming and I was like, I really wish Devin were here because it feels so much less weird to be screaming at him.
It's nice to have somebody to kind of endure it with.
No, exactly. It just and I like kept like squirming around the couch and just going like like I really that is the reaction this show gets from me.
Yeah.
But that episode, like the comedy in it is legitimately really funny.
Yeah. So when we watched that episode, and then when I watched episodes 8 and 9, the whole audience was just erupting in laughter the entire time.
I mean, not to the audience, but to be fair to our expectations of that, I've been to movie theaters in the city for movies and everything. We go to them all the time.
Yeah.
I knew people were going to be like that. I knew from the get-go that people were going to be like that.
Yes.
That's what they're like.
You know, I would say, especially with the one I went to that had like the whole cast, movie stars. Right in front of me, there was a couple sitting. And then probably like 4 seats to my left, so 1 row behind them and several over, there were like reserved seats for showtime. And they didn't say who they were going to be. They didn't have names on them or anything. The couple was sitting in front of me, actually. They were sitting right next to me until they saw the auditorium start to fill out and decided to actually move 1 row ahead of me to be closer.
Mm-hmm.
And then after they made that move, the 3 or 4 seats to the left of me were filled in by Emma Stone, Nathan Fielder, Benny Safdie, Josh Safdie. It's Josh Safdie, right? They all filled in right there. And you can see the people who moved only 1 seat away, not a long. They're
still within breathing distance. I still would have given them COVID if I was in that seat.
Yes, they are crestfallen that they have moved an inch away from. And it's an issue I have sometimes with Q&As or with having, you know, like creative talent at the thing, is that inherently it changes if the audience knows, it changes the way that they're going to react to the thing.
Yes.
And the entire showing, to like a distracting degree, this guy's sitting right in front of me. Every time there's a laugh moment, he's like laughing really loud and then like turning over to see, is Emma Stone? I laughed really hard at your joke, Emma Stone. Like it's like that the entire time. And I wonder how much of that is we're in this communal space and we're all experiencing the same, like you and I say, like, it's nice to have someone to endure it with. These people, if it's just being amplified, and so we're all laughing really hard at it, I don't know what percentage it's that and what percentage it is. We really want these cool, famous people to think we really like the thing that they've put out. I
mean, it's all of that, but then also like we've been to movies where people are just laughing just to laugh. Remember when we saw May, December, and the woman next to you was laughing a lot at every joke, a little too much. But the thing that I think really bothered me is towards the beginning of the movie, she pulls out a nebulizer, which is a normal thing for people with asthma. And the woman next to you thought it was a joke and started laughing. I was like, what is going on in your head?
She was in her head primed to like really ride.
And that is what people are like constantly in these theaters. And I am so used to it at this point.
Yeah.
I'm expecting it.
It can be a little annoying.
I find it really frustrating.
It can be a little annoying.
I'm trying to enjoy myself.
I have gotten to a point where I just kind of tune it out a little bit because I'm like, I just won't enjoy it.
No, there's no way to enjoy it. I still really enjoyed May December too. Like that.
May December is great. I mean, you bring that up. Ben Platt was in that audience.
He was. I don't think anyone was trying to impress Ben Platt. He wasn't in the movie.
Wow. Ben Platt found dead in a ditch.
Yeah. He did not look like he wanted people to be talking to him.
Yeah, well, because he probably didn't.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is it's not like he was there like I'm Ben Platt. I hope people give me attention. He looked like he was there
British?
like no. I wasn't trying to do a British accent.
Well, you were doing like a little fancy boy. So
that's what he is.
I hear little fancy boy, and I think
no, he's like but he's like a Silver Spoon New York boy.
Okay, all right,
which makes him a little fancy boy,
but
right?
I wonder if this girl who like you said like. I believe when the nebulizer comes out, it's not like set up for a joke. It's not a laugh moment. It's not set up for, it's just a character detail.
It's just, and I understand that it's something that not everyone has seen in their life.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that it's a joke.
But she pulls it out and she's so eager to laugh at whatever is being presented to her.
Yeah.
That the thing is she's kind of pre-laughed at a thing that's not even a joke.
Yeah. And that is what so many people are like in so many theaters here.
Yes.
So yeah, when you tell me sold out showing of The Curse, I'm like, people are going to be laughing at things that are not jokes. You know, people are going to be laughing because Nathan Fielder is on screen and they think that he's funny.
Yeah. And I think having him in the room, you know, there's the work of Nathan Fielder, I think really appeals to a very like kind of a very specific kind of like hip-minded, a comedy, film, nerd who really, who like maybe gets like a little possessive over it. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing here.
Well, and he's like a normal enough guy. Like, I know we said that he's hot, which he is. Like, I'm not taking that back.
Yeah.
But he doesn't look like Chris Hemsworth. So he evokes more of a parasocial relationship from his fans.
That's an interesting angle, that because he looks like a human being, maybe they think it's more approachable.
They think of him more like a YouTuber. Like the comedians also get that a lot.
But that's the thing. He gets that in the same way that comedians get it, is that the fact that what he is doing is an intellectual exercise in a lot of ways. I think he gets the same thing that stand-ups often get, which is people start treating him like he's a preacher, basically.
Yeah.
That what he is saying, and what really he's an artist who's trying to use art to make a point.
No, exactly. And they think that he's often, whatever characters he's playing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how you get people who are so angry about John Mulaney, is they're like, he was my friend. And even he is like, that's not me.
What? Oh, like his kind of like stage persona.
Yeah. Is that people like really think that he is their friend.
Yeah.
And so they get really mad when he betrays them. But he didn't betray you because he's not your friend.
No. Well, I don't know. It's a much like crasser version, but like even like Larry the Cable Guy does the exact same thing.
I mean, that's what comedians do. And I understand that with so similarly with Nathan Fielder having what is technically a reality show where he plays himself. Mm-hmm. It's similarly to being a stand-up who's playing a character, but it's a character with your name. People are going to think that it's you, and they're just going to assume that that's who you are.
And I think there are a lot of his audience members who they like the point he's making. And so they kind of really hyper fixate on him. Yeah. And it's the way that consuming these things in the internet age is.
Yeah.
Where the idea of like fanaticism, fandoms, and then cause you to get really obsessive, which is awkward in almost everything that it ends up being obsessive about. But when it's obsessive about a guy who is making art to communicate that he has no way to communicate to other people, and he feels really isolated and trapped from other things, it is really, really weird to see him get fans who are like saying like, he just liked me for real though, but without. He doesn't seem to be totally happy with that. And the fans of his work seem to be interpreting that to mean, I should be really proud of this. And it's not, I don't think he's necessarily saying you should be ashamed of this either. I just think he's like, this is a thing I find difficult about my life.
And he's expressing it through his art.
And I'm trying to explore this.
What that means.
And
sorry, that's from that,
what?
That's from the, sorry.
What that means?
Yeah.
That's a Nathan For You line, right? Yeah.
Sorry. That's the thing from the kid thing. And I've been thinking about it.
Yes.
It's been going through my brain.
Yes. Well, we should clarify. The joke is that he says confidence is so key. He could get a job through an interview, even if everything he responded to a question with was fed to him like through an earpiece from a little kid. Who's
what
like,
that means. Yeah. You like skateboarding?
Yes. Who's like asking just inane questions like that.
It's so funny.
Yeah. So
go watch that, then come back.
Go watch that. Go watch. So there's like 4 seasons of Nathan For You.
Yeah, go watch all that.
8 episodes, so you can watch all that. The
watch
rehearsals,
the rehearsal,
like 8
obviously.
episodes, no big deal.
Easy, yeah.
But yeah, I would say this was an incredibly receptive crowd to this.
It was, and I do think, because you told me how annoying that crowd was during that one, and I thought that our crowd was like the exact right type of excited for the episode that we saw.
Yes.
Like I really enjoyed being in that crowd. I found that everyone was very normal in a way that I having said all the things I just said was expecting a lot worse.
Yes.
Because I'm used to really bad crowds.
You know, I think it's so interesting.
Especially at that theater.
Yes. I think should I talk about the weird guy?
Oh, the guy who said, yeah, sure.
The weird guy.
That guy who was always sitting there.
He's like a recurring villain in my theater going experience.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say his name because I don't know his name.
Well, yeah. Have you said that we were at the Walter Reed Theater yet?
We were at the Walter Reed Theater, which
one
is
of our favorite theaters in the city.
I would pretty comfortably say is my favorite theater in the city.
And I don't think you've been there yet on the pod.
I don't think we have done an episode at Walter Reed yet. We're actually going to be back there soon.
Yes, we are.
But Walter Reed, do you want to talk a little bit about Film at Lincoln Center before we Okay, wait. Let's order of business here.
Okay.
Should we talk about film at Lincoln Center? Should I talk about the weird guy who keeps coming and ruining movies for me?
Wait, are you talking about the weird guy who sits in the front sometimes who's weird, or are you talking about the guy who laughs?
I'm talking about the guy who laughs.
Okay.
That guy is like,
that guy's just kind of weird.
That's more routine for me because that guy's
almost always there in the exact same seat.
That guy's just some old
He's
guy.
harmless. It's just funny that he's always there and he's always in that seat and he's always eating.
Yes. And he's always like, it's always like, he's an older man.
Yeah.
And he's always.
And by the way, he's allowed to be there. I don't think that this is a problem.
He's always eating like finger foods and like, but like when like he's like putting his whole fingers in his mouth and making a lot of like nasty smacking sounds. He's just a regular kind of
but he
guy.
is like a recurring Walter Reed character.
Yes. So I guess we should look. I'll just say this. There's this weird guy who I run into, not just at Walter Reed. I've run into him a number of times at different theaters.
We ran into him downtown.
I see him frequently. He usually doesn't even sit near me. He has a loud laugh that like is
very distinct,
but like very distinct. I would kind of describe it as when the weasels and Roger Rabbit laugh themselves to death.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I don't know his name.
The issue for me is not even necessarily that he has a loud laugh and that it is easy to pick out of a crowd. It is that he is always laughing, whether or not it's funny. It's not
a nervous giggle. It's a full-throated laugh. And it's never proportional to what's happening in the theater. Because it
feels rude.
I know because like other people in the audience are also like laughing often quite loud, just at all times, never to the same volume.
It feels rude in the same way that I feel when I'm in like a Broadway theater and people are talking.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, there's people up there doing a job. And I know that in the case of the movie theater, there's people in here just sitting.
He was not at the Curse.
He was not.
I have seen him at several Q&As and he is always one of the first hands up. I think he is doing this, at least in part, because he really wants to get the attention of the director, the creative people who are there. This is a not uncommon. This is one of the downsides of going to a Q&A.
Yeah,
there are people who will like.
Oh man, we have many stories about being the Walter Reed.
We could sit and talk. One of my like favorite bad Q&A questions is when a movie has an intentionally ambiguous ending, and someone stands up and says, "Where were they going? Where were they going?"
And he raised his hand with such purpose. He's like, and he had his hand up the entire time, and he was the last question. That was so bad.
Yeah. For this one, actually, the last one was, there was this guy who during the entire Q&A, and by the way, so for episode 10,
I don't know why I did that, I'm sorry.
It was just Benny Safdie, who clearly was having, he came to all 4 of the showings and did a Q&A at all of them. At the one we were at, he went so long that the moderator said, we need our staff to leave on time. So we actually have to leave the auditorium, where he then held court out in the lobby and answered more questions. He is clearly having a total blast.
He is loving being God to these weirdos.
Yes. Am
I being too mean to the weirdos?
No, because it's not like we're being like,
we're also cool. The weirdos who showed up
there doing the same thing.
I also think that I'm a weirdo.
My position is not that I am better or cooler than these people.
But I do think that they're weird.
Yeah. I'm just weird and annoying in different ways.
Exactly.
But so there's this guy who spends the entire Q&A, and it's quite a long Q&A. It's like an hour long. And he is like, he's doing that kind of hand raising where his like butt's hovering off the chair a little bit. And every time
he's like, he's about to start sweating.
And every time somebody else gets picked to answer a question, he like stares daggers at them. Like he's like mad that he wasn't picked. Yeah. And then finally for the last one, like the moderator is literally like, there's people who have to like go home. Like we have to clear out of here. So this is gonna be our last question. finally he gets picked and he stands up and he's like, so like, what was your favorite memory of working on set? Like it's the most just anodyne, nothing question. And I don't even remember how Benny Safdie answered it because
what was your favorite place to eat while you were filming with your friends?
Yeah. It's like, what's your favorite memory? I don't know. What's it just like being on set? Isn't that great? You're working with Emma Stone.
What was your favorite outfit that Nathan Fielder wore to set?
Yeah. And it's just, I think people see the opportunity cost of being in the room with somebody who they can ask questions about that they have just finished watching. So they actually haven't even really had a chance to like digest it, think of the questions you have internally. So you'll see people asking questions just to be asking questions.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's people who raise their hand and will just say something. They'll be like, and of course, and then explain something that happened in the movie. And then you'll just see the director sitting up there like, okay.
Yeah.
We went to one where the moderator very specifically said, we're opening this up to questions from the audience. By the way, only questions, no statements.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome.
Yes, I've had to. Was this when Esther Zuckerman
did it? This was Moonstruck, yeah.
Yes, this was Esther Zuckerman moderated. It was with John Patrick Shanley after Moonstruck.
Yeah, that was a really good
Q&A. It was
a
great Q&A because she immediately set the tone for the room, which is, this is not space for you to stand up and, get attention for a minute. If you have a question about writing the movie, that's what we got the writer here for.
Exactly. Whereas, most of the time people will just kind of raise their hand to let you know that they understood what happened.
Yes. I have on more than one occasion seen somebody stand up to explain a plot point to the director.
It's crazy.
Of what we just watched.
There was someone did that at The Curse where someone raised their hand to be like, so obviously there's the whole thing about the curse going through. So at the end, is that obviously we're supposed to think that that's the curse. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why do you feel the need to do this?
Yeah.
That's what the name of the show is. Why are you doing this?
Well, I don't know. It is the fun of these things sometimes is kind of I really rarely ask a question. Even rarely like raise my hand to ask a question. I generally speaking.
I also don't have questions. So I just don't feel the need.
Like I often don't know how I feel about a thing until it's been a day after I've watched it.
Yeah, so I don't really have a question until a few days
I'm sitting
later.
there if something occurs to me, I might raise my hand. It's pretty rare. But I want to talk a little bit about the Q&A for episode 8 and 9, which had everybody there. So even though he had been at the others, he clearly wasn't tired of it. Benny Safdie totally dominated it. He was kind of the ringleader of the whole thing. Nathan Fielder, to the degree that I'm like, I think he was like doing a little bit of a bit. I think this is up on the Film at Lincoln Center website. It's a worthwhile watch if you want to go there. He almost intentionally put his foot in his mouth when trying to make a point. Somebody asked the question, do you think the characters you're playing are good or bad people? Which I think is actually like
That's a solid question.
It's an interesting way to look at this, right? And in trying to answer that, he talked about how, it's kind of a similar point about how you'll say like, oh, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. He's trying to make a similar point to that. And he's talking about complicity in, modern society. Mm-hmm. And through doing that, decides to, as a metaphor, talk about Germans living in Hitler's Germany. Mm-hmm. And he keeps like saying phrases that to me make it think that like he's intentionally drawing it out to be this tortured, right? Yeah. Like he's like, look, was every Nazi a bad person? Like he'll say stuff like that. I already regret that I've made a audio sample. I can clip that now. Yep.
And guess what? I will.
Please don't. And he's going through, and the whole room is kind of churning with. They're really reacting to him, kind of riding the waves of not being able to get a point out. Meanwhile, Emma Stone is sitting off to the right, like kind of head in one hand. The analogy I used to describe is that she kind of looks like somebody who has been made to spend too much time with her younger brothers. Like she seems she's probably been on a long press tour. She just filmed the whole show with them. she's probably doing a lot of the stuff in general because at the time Poor Things had already started rolling out. So she was probably doing a lot of Q&As.
And now she's probably still doing like Oscars stuff.
Now that she's officially nominated, I'm sure that this has just not ended for her.
Yeah.
The Q&A went on for quite some time. It was probably about an hour long. And she eventually, I think immediately prior to this, Benny Safdie said, no, we're going to answer every question in the room. He kept saying that. He's like, I'm going to answer every question here.
Of course he said that.
And then Nathan Fielder interrupted an answer that he was in the middle of giving.
Of course he did.
To like he interrupts it with, to go back to the Nazi thing. Mid-sentence, Emma Stone interrupts him. She says, excuse me, we're good? Leans over to the moderator and just says, we're done. No,
sorry, I'm dissociating. I can't handle this.
She leans over to the moderator and says, we're done. We're not doing this anymore. And the whole, immediately, it was so funny the degree to which everyone was like, that is absolute. We're done. Emma says we're done. Here. We're going home. And they basically just dismissed everyone right away. It's a cool Q&A. They also did a weird t-shirt canon.
That was at ours.
At episode 10.
Well, where he tried to do something and it failed immediately. That was fun. I really liked that. I really like when someone has a grand idea for something and they're like, oh crap, we didn't practice this, so it doesn't work.
Yeah. I really liked, I overall had a great time at both these Q&As, better than most Q&As I've been to, frankly, because Benny Safdie, regardless of what was being thrown at him, was so clearly having such a good time with it.
He's very, very charming in an interview.
He knew to capitalize. As I would compare this to actually last year when Beau is Afraid was new. We went and saw a Q&A with Ari Aster.
Yeah, my last day of freedom. That was the day before I shattered my ankle.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It was literally my last day, my last day of the person I used to be.
Yeah. You're still the same person, just with a worse ankle.
The last day of my old life. I'm in my second life.
Because of an ankle injury?
Yes, my life is completely different now.
You're the same person, just with a worse ankle. That means you can do less stuff.
Exactly. My last day of
so we were at a
my life.
We were at a Q&A for Beau is Afraid with Ari Aster there.
Yes.
It was like the beginning of its opening wide weekend. Pre-sales weren't great for it, and critics were not overwhelmingly negative, but mixed on it.
I believe for that screening, it had been out for a week and we were seeing it on its second Friday.
Something like that, yeah. And it obviously had done festivals and stuff. But it comes out, it's not super well received, pretty split down the middle. And Ari Aster, despite the incredibly receptive crowd, who I think for the same reasons, right, we're just really excited to be at a screening with the director there.
Totally.
Was kind of like a sad sack. He was just sitting there. He's like, well, I guess I'm glad you like it. Nobody else seems to. And he's just kind of talking about it. Yeah, well, I also
think because his energy was also just so nervous. He really seems like a guy who doesn't like doing that.
No, he doesn't see. I don't think under the best of circumstances he would have enjoyed
and we've absolutely seen directors who are just not, this isn't their favorite part of the job. No. And they're doing it because they have to, which I think is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's probably why actors do the Q&As with directors a lot of the time. And also why Benny Safdie is so good at it, because he is both.
Yeah. I think Jane Campion is actually kind of a good example of that, who
she did not want to be there.
No, she did. I think right after she got the nomination for Best Picture and Best Director, they showed Power of the Dog again at the Paris, where she showed up and tried to be game and just very clearly did not want to be there.
I also remember that was one where the moderator was the one who asked a question about did something happen or not, that was obviously supposed to be left open, and she got mad at the moderator. She was like, come on, don't ask me that.
Yeah.
She seemed genuinely annoyed.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
I don't know. To go back to the curse.
Yeah, sorry.
Because we've really veered off from, and I actually want to spend a little bit more time digging into the meat of the thing. Because I think we've been pretty thorough about how I think this is maybe the most clear-cut example in terms of things that we've covered on the show, of how different something is at home versus in the theater, because
Yes.
we actually literally watched part of this at home and part of this in the theater.
Yeah.
So we can contrast how we responded to different parts of the same thing.
Yeah. Well, but
depending on the
also
setting.
because you saw some of the more normal episodes in the theater, whereas the finale is so different from the rest of the episodes that it really did feel like a completely different experience. So I wonder if for you, did it feel with the episodes that felt more like the episodes we watched at home, did it also feel so different, or was it just because the audience?
Episode 8, which you watched on the couch, I was on the couch next to you with like my headphones in.
No, you were gone when I watched episode 8. You were out of the house. I remember because I was
maybe it's episode 9. I was
episode 9. You were home. I just remember because I remember being home alone. I like had to pause it a couple times and be like, okay.
And I remember you weren't like the biggest difference I would notice having been in an audience for it. My audience was like riotously laughing the entire time. You were doing the same thing that we had together been doing for the first 7 episodes, which is being pretty upset by it.
I think there was one moment where I laughed really loudly. It's the moment, this was in the episode before that one, the moment where Emma Stone starts like sort of making fun of Nathan Fielder, where she starts being like, oh, what about his mom? And I just wasn't expecting it at all. So I like kind of scream laughed.
That's actually
in like a really nervous way.
That's a really interesting moment because it's Hillary is her name?
Whitney.
I don't know why. Whitney is her name. That character she's kind of like, she is the child of these two, I don't know how else to refer to, they're slumlords basically.
Yeah.
And she is trying to like downplay that, even though it's where she gets all her money to do all this crazy shit that she's doing.
Yeah.
And she kind of wants to, instead of being seen as a rich kid and she doesn't even want to acknowledge it, that, you know, she's using her parents' money to do whatever she wants. She just wants to be known for like this philanthropy thing that she's doing.
She is intent on being a white savior.
Yes. I forget my point going with it. Where was I going with that?
You were talking about the moment where she's making fun of Nathan Fielder.
Yes, the moment where she's making, when it's this really unique breaking point in the show where he has expressed concern for somebody, and she, who at this point is separate from all the other issues, really frustrated with him as an individual. When she's alone with him, totally breaks the act of being, you know, an understanding, sensitive person. And it's like you said, starts mocking that, oh, he's got a mom to support. Like starts like,
yeah. Well, I saw that as because she sees everything that he does that's like technically good
as performative,
as performative. So it's not necessarily that she doesn't care, because she also doesn't care. Like it's obvious. We know that, but like it's that she knows that he doesn't care, at least in her mind. And that's what she's making fun of. It's not, she is not even thinking about the situation.
She doesn't care because ultimately her goal is to be seen as a good person, not necessarily to do good things. He doesn't care because he's just so desperate for validation, and he's decided that she is his relationship with Whitney is going to be his avenue for validation.
Yeah. Can I talk about one of my other like least favorite things that ever happened in that show?
Yeah, is it the end of episode 9?
Is it the end? Oh no, I'm talking about a smaller moment where she's trying to be nice to him again because she's been really mean to him, and he's really insecure. And she goes to him and she's like, "Do you want to go bowling?" And he's like, "Sure." Or no, he doesn't say sure. He's like, "What are you talking about? Like, why do you want to go bowling?" And she's like, "Okay, the offer's going to expire in 10 seconds." And she starts counting down. And then he goes, "Do you love me?" 10.
I'll go 9, bowling with you if you say you love
8.
me.
But he starts counting down. I started freaking out. I was like, I cannot believe he is doing this.
Because and
it's so casual. It's just so crazy.
She knows that she has to nominally put some effort into maintaining this publicly.
Yeah.
But she hates him so much at this point that when she's alone with him, when there's not a camera trained on her, when there is not going to otherwise be proof that this is all fake, she cannot even say that she likes him directly to his face.
She doesn't want to be around him. And he has picked up on it, but he's so insecure about it. It's like the only thing that he's thinking about.
Yeah. And he's obviously,
"Do you love me?"
He's
10, 9.
Yeah. And you can see the look on her face where like, it's actually the most perverse part of that moment is that she loves playing mind games so much that the fact that he is playing mind games back to her is kind of like 5% making her like him a little bit for the duration of that moment.
Sure.
Like the fact that she's being manipulated the way that she likes to manipulate and
Sure.
she recognizes that
He's so
is
good
like,
in that show.
is through like narcissism because she's seeing herself in him, making her like him a little bit.
Sure.
But it's only because she likes
but it's
herself
such
that
desperation
much.
too.
Yeah. And he's,
Which is very unattractive to her.
And like, you know, contrary wise, he's seeing that in her eyes that he's like, oh, she likes me a little bit and is reading into that a little bit. It's absolutely nuts. I don't know. But she is so obsessed with being perceived as a good, helpful, philanthropic person. That moment reveals if you had any doubt that like maybe she is well-intentioned but just kind of dumb and unaware, that moment kind of completely obliterates that she doesn't actually believe anything. The only thing she believes is that she wants to be perceived a certain way.
Yeah.
Asher, I think
he only wants it to be with her.
Asher, I think, just is like so desperate for validation because even beforehand, like when he's in the footage that he steals from the casino to distract from a negative news story about Whitney and her and her history. In that you see him like really vigorously laughing at somebody who has a gambling addiction while he's working at a casino, despite the fact that the video he submits as proof is proving that they're breaking some sort of regulation to keep gambling addicts out.
Yep.
So that's the thing is that even beforehand, before he's with Whitney, he's trying to
he's trying so hard to make everyone like him.
He's trying to make whoever he's
situation.
around he's so because can you think of another character who hates themselves more than the Nathan Fielder does in this show?
Yeah, I know. Well, there's also when he goes to the casino to get the footage when he's like talking to I don't know if it was the manager and he gives them a new idea to make more gambling addicts gamble more. Like while he's there to steal the footage to expose them for what they're doing, he gives them an idea.
He can't help, even though he's not going to be around them in an hour or whatever.
And he doesn't work there.
Try to ingratiate himself further with them. It is this show is fucking nuts.
It's really nuts.
I want to talk about his performance a little bit.
He's so good.
Emma Stone was, I think, nominated for a Golden Globe.
She's also really, really amazing.
She's fantastic. Nathan Fielder's performance has gone kind of unheralded in this.
He's so good.
The kind of like just below the surface roiling rage, because he has several moments where he just has these outbursts, and it's kind of like what we were saying. Safdie characters have this involuntary. They know as they're doing it, as they're still making the decision to make the bad choice, right? They know that what they're doing is bad for them and it's going to be bad for their life. And they just keep going forward doing it because the feeling of doing it is too immediately satisfying. It's the same with Howie and Uncut Gems, where it's, I mean, where
that movie.
Where there it's more of a, like a really blatant, metaphor for addiction.
I've never had a better theater moment than when we were in that movie and he made a specific decision and the entire theater collectively groaned together.
It's when he's talking to Kevin Garnett and he has decided that he
I don't want to give spoilers.
Yeah. Anyway, well, it's a movie about gambling.
I know.
He makes an extra bet. It is the one time
I think he just specifically says like, I'm going to go gamble this.
That you see him talk himself into making another bet.
Yeah. I've never had like that type of moment because I've had like fun little laughs. Like I had a really fun moment when I saw Get Out where there was a little jump scare and one woman in the theater screamed so loudly and everyone else in the theater started laughing because of how funny that was. And like those are the most fun theater experiences to me when the theater is like all together on something. Yeah. But like that groan was just perfect.
This is the second time I've done a record this week where that reminds me of my film forum story. I haven't told it because do you know the one I'm talking about? Yes.
Okay.
We'll have to blur that out a little bit because I think you just like kind of gave it away a little bit. But like, so I want to tell that story. Here's what I'll say. It happened at something I saw on my birthday a couple years ago at the Film Forum, a place where audiences contain many eccentrics. I actually want to tell that story, but I want to wait for
that movie to be in theaters again?
That movie to be in theaters again. A, because it's a movie I'd love to see again.
I would like to see that movie.
It's a movie that plays semi-frequently.
And I just want you to know that whenever we get to the point in the movie, you have to do the part of the story.
That all will make itself clear. I'm absolutely not going to do that. I'm not going to do the thing in the theater I saw somebody else do.
Oh, man.
You should be glad.
Oh, man.
But it's Fielder's performance, I think, has kind of been ignored a little bit in terms of awards because I don't think it doesn't really seem like the point of what he's going for. But I think it's worth bringing up because it's easy to say like, oh, simmering anger is like an easy thing to play, because I think it's a hallmark of like an actor like kind of really like going there, the way he does it is that it's got these very subtle little like changes in his face as you can see him making the decision to allow himself to get angrier.
Well, also it's because it's the anger below the surface coupled with the anxiety of the character. And he plays them together very well.
Because he's fighting in the moment and every single time he blows up, it's immediately followed by once he's like released, he is back to being the relatively level-headed guy that he is.
Yeah.
He's trying to placate everybody who he's just offended or upset. And he's trying to do damage control.
Yeah.
And it's like now that he's released all the pressure from the valve, he's tightened it right back up. And doesn't even realize it. He is winding up to his next outburst already.
Yeah. Also, sorry I laughed. I was thinking again about if I let go, I will fly away.
Yeah. It's
and like even stuff like that, he just gives such good line deliveries because I really do think that moment is so good because it is so funny to hear someone say something like that, but it's so stressful in the context of the show.
There's no reason for any of the people that are like the fire.
There's no reason for any of them to believe him. But you do feel his frustration because you watched it happen, but it's also such a funny thing to hear someone say, and you can register that in the moment as well.
The so frustrating thing, and it's like, look, inevitably we end up making the worst decision for ourselves. But as soon as you see him on the ceiling for more than like a minute or so and you realize, oh, something really weird is happening, your immediate thing is like, oh, he's going to go outside and that's where this is really going to get off the rails. And you just are up until that point, once you realize that's an inevitability, you're just like, just don't go outside. I know it's probably weird up there on the ceiling. Just please don't go outside.
Why would you go outside? Why wouldn't you just sit there and like wait?
Well, like call the fire department and be like,
worst case scenario, you're like,
come.
There's that. Well, also, worst case scenario, you just become like one of those 5-minute YouTube videos that's like the guy who lives on the ceiling. And then they talk about your life and then you just kind of live there.
You could weigh, let's talk about the logistics of like how a guy could like live like, you could weigh yourself down. But the thing is, I think eventually the pressure of gravity, which is reversed for you, would just become so intense that it would start like damaging your internal organs.
You think so? I thought for him, it just felt like he was standing up, just he was on the ceiling.
It would do the same, but like I'm saying, if you weighed yourself down on the floor, you know what I mean? Like if you had enough counterweight on like our floor.
Oh, you're saying that like,
and he tried to live his
whatever
life.
was happening to him was just going to increase every day.
No. I'm saying like, let's say he didn't go outside. The fire department came, scientists came or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, well, we're going to tie.
Vice came to make their little YouTube video. Vice came to make their little YouTube video.
Yeah. We're going to.
Not Vice, the movie you hate.
Not Vice, the movie that I hate. The worst American film of the 2010s. No, like they like tied weights around his waist. And he just was
Oh no, I was just saying that he should just stay on this. He should just be like, this is my life now.
Yeah.
Either that or he's like, decide to die.
Yeah, be housebound.
Or he's like, I guess I walk outside and I die now.
Yeah.
People are housebound. It happens.
I don't know. But I mean,
that's what I would do in the situation, is what I'm saying.
I don't think there are
I would monetize it. I'd be like, my life on the ceiling, and I'd post like little TikToks.
Yeah, my life on the ceiling is actually like a great.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good title for something, and I just don't have we don't have the concept. I guess the concept is what happens to Nathan Fielder's character, but
we're writing a fan fiction about what if he didn't go outside.
If he didn't go outside, he's like, I'm actually just gonna wait for the fire department in here.
Yeah.
This was a really I was really upset pretty much the entire time I was watching this.
This
I'll tell you
episode or the show
whole,
in
the
general?
whole show. But I'll tell you this: while I was in the theater,
It felt more
communally
fun.
getting to laugh, I was like, it does. But like, here's the thing: should the awkwardness be lessened? Do I actually want it to be? I would argue maybe not.
think that-
because then you're not feeling.
But
it
I think
fully.
that episode is so crazy because it's less about the cringy real life moments, which is what the rest of the show is kind of about. And it's more about this, how would these people deal with this situation?
Mhm.
And I think because it's so different and it's so heightened, it works so well in the theater.
The whole like concept completely
and I
changes.
think at home we would have been screaming, and I think I would have laughed just as hard at everything that I laughed at.
Yeah.
I really do think it was like it just the actual comedy, because there was so much more physical comedy.
Yeah.
It just worked.
Let me ask you this. I know you said, would you ever watch this again? Because I think it's very well made. And since we watched it in the theater, I wonder if at the very least episode
I would watch
9,
the last episode. I honestly think that it is just such a good episode of television.
Yeah.
And because it does have so much less just like cringe content. There's so much less, oh my God, why are you doing this? Like I don't want to watch Dougie in the car taking the breathalyzer again.
Yeah.
And he does it so many times.
So Benny Safdie's character has a recurring, it's not a bit, it's a dangerous thing. It's a dangerous thing that he does, where he has a backstory where he, as a drunk driver, was responsible for his wife's death in the car that he was drunk driving. Now, as a result of that, every time he is he has a breathalyzer in his car. And I want to say 3 or 4 separate times he'll be driving, not paying attention or falling asleep at the wheel.
Eyes glazed over. Really, really good acting, by the way, there.
Someone in the car will get nervous and he'll be like, watch, I'll take a breathalyzer. Don't worry, I'm not drunk. And then every time he's like, oh, I'm drunk. I'm going to pull over for a minute.
And they also, they make sure to let you see him drinking, like in the episode where he goes out with Asher and Asher's like, I'm going to stop drinking. I'll drive. And he goes, don't worry about it. I'll stop drinking. You keep drinking. And then he orders like a Coke or something. And then he goes to the bar
separately.
Yeah. And he goes, yeah, bring my Coke with whiskey in it and don't tell
the other guy.
The guy I'm with.
Yeah.
It's just, and it like that kind of stuff is so hard to watch in a way that the ceiling stuff is it's just such a cool set piece.
It is. It's like a really ambitious episode of Nathan For You in that way.
Yeah.
You know, where you're like,
which I can watch over and over
something
again.
Is so, what you have done here is so bizarre that I kind of have to just, you like admire it.
Yeah.
You admire the storytelling choice. You admire the craft that went into making that scene look as good as it does.
Yeah. I tried not to think about the set while I was watching it, but I inevitably kept being like, I bet that's an upside down set. That's really cool. I wonder how they did that. Yeah.
I think it's like some shots are upside down. There's both a real set and an upside down set.
Yeah.
But yeah, some are, and it's,
and it was just like,
great.
I was watching it and it was just so, it just looked so good that I was like, that has to be an upside down set.
Yeah. So yeah, you dodged the question, but would you watch The Curse in its entirety again?
In its entirety? I don't know. I
would
don't have to
binge it.
I know. I would have to have years away from it. I would definitely watch the last episode again on its own sometime this year.
Yeah.
Like I would do that. But I definitely not this year would I watch the show again.
Yes.
It depends on like, I don't know, if like another Fielder Safdie project comes out.
Yeah.
But it comes out in like a few years, I might revisit it.
So I kind of want to segue then to touch on things that are coming next. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think Fielder has anything official. And I guarantee you he's got overall deals. Like there are things that we just don't know about.
I guarantee you he's terrorizing someone right now.
Yeah. Fielder is in this really interesting place where when they gave him the stuff to make the rehearsal, that was at the time the most ambitious thing he had done. And there was some pretty crazy shit on the later seasons of Nathan For You. But that was at the time easily the most ambitious thing he had done. And that blowing up and doing this, which is just beyond entirely crazy. This is upper echelon of like the resources he's been given. I think as long as he doesn't push much past like what he's currently doing, like if he found something of a similar budget level to The Curse, he gets enough online buzz and awards attention and And like the ratings are solid enough that I think he could basically do this for as long as he wanted to.
Yeah.
He could make a rehearsal or the curse every 2 or 3
Yeah,
years.
and you could work on Who Is America or
Yeah.
something like it. You can't work on Who Is America anymore because we know all those characters.
Yeah.
Sacha Baron Cohen.
This with the curse specifically, obviously the way it ends is pretty definitive.
Yeah, it's very clear that is a miniseries. This is not a show.
But
which is
like
television show.
people of course always ask them, and Benny Safdie being the kind of raconteur that he is, he's like, yeah, I would love to do a second season. I don't know. The thing is, maybe he has some crazy far out idea for that. I have no idea what the fuck that could possibly be.
Yeah.
But Fielder, I don't think has anything on the books yet. It's actually worth bringing up the others right now. The Safdies broke up as a professional partnership.
I thought it was funny. I wanted to bring this up. I thought this was funny. We watched towards the end of the Q&A because Josh Safdie was in the audience just like to come see the show. And like towards the end of the Q&A, he could tell that it was winding down. So he got up and left. And we kind of happened to look over as he was leaving. And we were like, okay, I guess he's leaving. And then right at the end of the Q&A, Benny Safdie was like saying thank you to everyone who came. And he was like, and my brother who's over there. Well, he was over there.
Yeah.
I just thought it was really funny that he snuck out without telling him.
In the most kind of like gossipy way possible. It's really nice to see that because this was after the announcement that they were parting ways professionally, that they're going to remain brothers and get along with each other. So I'm really happy
We're
for them.
sisters, so we met at home.
Yeah, I'm really happy for them. Do you want to give that impossible reference that nobody else is going to know?
Oh, you want me to explain that?
Yeah. Well, if you're going to say it, that means you have to justify saying it.
Sorry, I just really like that reference.
Yeah.
Allie and AJ did a Reddit AMA and someone asked them how they met and they said, well, we're sisters, so we met at home.
I can't remember off the top of my head what their announced projects are. I believe like as part of saying we're separating, they both really soon after said, we're doing this, we're doing that. I think they had another movie planned with Adam Sandler that I think is probably now just kind of on ice or will transform into something with one of them.
Sure.
So I don't know.
I hope they work with him again.
I'm excited for both of those projects in whatever permutation. Yeah. It doesn't sound like they're like swearing each other off, to be clear.
No, it sounds like they're just like we have ideas that we want to work on. Maybe they each are like, I have this idea that I want to work on, and the other's like, I'm more interested in this idea.
Yeah. So I think it's just priority. Emma Stone is a movie star. I don't know if you knew that about her.
She is.
She is. I don't know.
She's up for an Oscar.
She's currently on the Oscar campaign trail right now.
Yeah. She's been doing really cute interviews with Mark Ruffalo.
Yes.
I think they're like really fun together. I really like them.
Has always been really into pushing this movie because like all the way back to like, look, not to call her out, but at the New York Film Festival, Bradley Cooper had the Spotlight movie there, and even though he was the director of Maestro, said, "Look, I know I could be here as a DGA, member, but you all know me as an actor. I shouldn't be here promoting this. That would be wrong." Emma Stone was showing up in her capacity as a producer, just kind of attending things, like I don't think that she didn't do a Q&A at Poor Things, which we went and saw, but I think she did because she has another short film with Yorgos Lanthimos.
I thought she might have done it for The Curse, but I don't know. Oh no, it was with Yorgos. Yeah, so it was probably for the short film.
She was kind of like not technically crossing the picket line, but also like not in really
kind of in spirit.
Yeah. But she's up for an award. I think she's good in Poor Things. Honestly, I would much rather see it go to Lily Gladstone.
I want Lily Gladstone to win. I do think that Emma Stone's performance is also very, very good.
The thing is, the Academy loves her so much. This year she
has an Oscar.
She already has an Oscar. I think Lily Gladstone is a legitimately better performance.
I think so too, but I also like, I don't know, like I do think that Emma Stone is really, really fun in that movie.
She's really great. She just wouldn't be my pick. She already has an Oscar and she's probably going to be
I completely agree.
She's probably going to be up for several more in the rest of her career.
Yeah.
Because the Academy loves her and she's relatively young.
Yeah.
So
I want Lily Gladstone to win. Like being perfectly clear, I want her to win.
Yes. So
because she has the same name as me.
I am sure she's got something lined up in the hopper right now. But
also, I think she has a kid. So like she's got that going on.
I think she kind of like not disappeared, but worked less for a couple years.
We never saw her pregnant.
Kids.
Yeah, we never saw her pregnant.
I think weirdly what she did, I think she did her main credits from that period, I believe, are that she voiced in The Croods.
That's smart, frankly.
Yeah, well,
if that's
then,
true.
Then when the kid comes,
Smart
then you
if true.
then you've made a new movie to
inflict upon your kids.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's fine. I don't know. I've never seen. Do you want to cover the Croods here? Do you want to do the Croods duology?
No, I'm good. I've never seen it, and I have no attachment to them.
This is the second time Croods 2 has come up here because it is one of our previous guests, Alex Campo, I think would have been on last week.
Yeah.
It's. Do you want to try and guess these? Listeners will know. I think Nicolas Cage has been in. It's either 3 or 4 sequels.
Oh, I hate you because I just listened to this today, and of course I don't remember.
Yeah, but it's the
listeners
Croods,
will know. I'm a listener. Okay,
yeah, the Croods 2.
I left space for Jesus here because I'm a listener.
Yeah, that's.
I also left the door open for Elijah. So
yeah. These are references to previous episodes and texts I got from you while listening to previous episodes.
It's last week's episode.
Yeah,
and also they don't need to see our texts.
They'll have freshly listened. We're not. That's whenever we do a Patreon, our text thread will be like.
You don't want to see that. Trust me.
Way high.
Trust me, that's not going to be interesting to any of you.
No, it's going to be like, I think that like if we make that a subscription tier, people are going to unsubscribe from other subscription tiers and from the podcast in general.
They would just be seeing us saying hi to each other all day.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of what it is. So that's what Emma Stone is up to right now is, campaigning hard for an Oscar that just based off the way things might go is like reasonably likely she might actually get.
Yeah.
And it's,
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell with like, cause like when it comes to the Golden Globes, they can be a little bit of a prediction, but you never know.
Well, she won best comedy.
No,
and Lily
exactly.
Gladstone won best drama.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying is that you never really know because it used to be that if whoever won best drama was more likely to win the Oscar, and the person who won best comedy was not necessarily even going to be nominated. But you never really know. Anymore.
We are recording this 2 days after the announcement of the Oscars nominations. This episode comes out on February 2nd.
Sure.
So there'll be another 6 rounds of discourse that will have begun and ended in between then.
I'm good.
The thing is,
we're already on like 7.
We've had 2 days, and I've already seen like something that I thought was going to be an annoying trend throughout the entire Oscars race rise, be immediately kind of shut down as like a niche annoying opinion, and then like get put down, but like also in an annoying to self-satisfied way. So maybe it'll crest again and become. But yeah, so that's what's going on with the Oscars, which we'll talk about in a few weeks here. I don't know exactly what we're doing for our Oscars special, but we will have something planned. Do you have any final thoughts on The Curse?
On The Curse. Good show. Upsetting show.
Good show, upsetting show.
If you want to sit at home and scream, great show.
We did, I think, just kind of sit and wince and like it was like
we were like shouting at each other, like kind of like my God,
like surprised shouts, like not even like screams, like I don't know how to I have no other way other than to just.
I have no way of expressing myself right now. I was like, I tried to read a bunch of recaps today just to remind myself of some things that happened that I didn't remember. And the thing is, like, I think I got to episode 4 before being like, I can't handle it anymore. I remember enough.
Yeah.
I can't do this.
Yeah. So
recaps.
I need to bring this up because this hasn't happened yet. We forgot to do this on our Night Swim episode a couple weeks ago. I didn't ask you the same question, my final question that I ask all of my guests. So I'm going to ask it to you twice, or I can ask you once and you can give me 2 answers.
Okay. I don't care either way, whatever you want to
do.
So
what Never Gonna Happen screening, if we see is actually playing at a theater here in New York, do we have to drop everything, go to, and do an episode on?
So first, I'm going to do the one, I believe I've said this twice already for the 2 episodes that are never going to air.
Yeah.
Is obviously Malignant. Which which I know.
American masterpiece.
The best movie ever made. I think we talked about it last time as well.
Yes.
And we missed it in the theater and I want to see it. Yes, are you going to ask me again or do you want me to just say the movie?
Do you want me to ask the question out loud again or would you like to hear me say it again?
Say it again.
Okay, cool. So let's
build the suspense.
What Never Gonna Happen screening, if we see is playing somewhere in the city, do we have to drop everything, go to the screening, and do an episode on.
Okay. I thought of this yesterday and I could not believe I had not thought of this before.
Yeah.
Jersey Girl.
Oh my God. Yeah. You have such a thing for Jersey Girl's not even like a movie I dislike. I don't think
you've seen it.
No, I've like cable seen it.
Okay. Oh yeah. So like kind of, because I used to really like that movie. Like it was like a comfort movie for me. I haven't watched it in years. So I don't want to say whether or not I like it now because it's possible I'll watch it and I'll be like,
movie you
this
talked to me
sucks.
about a lot.
Well, because I remember a lot of things about it and I used to watch it like once every few months. It was like, just like a nice movie to have on.
Yeah.
But me and Roger Ebert are the only people who like it. And Roger Ebert's dead, so he's not going to screen it.
That's true.
So unless they're doing like a Roger Ebert's favorite movies, which no one's going to do.
Malignant, we saw screen once. We had to be out of town for it.
Yeah, that sucked.
Yeah. And Jersey Girl probably, it's a Kevin Smith movie. It'll screen somewhere.
I've just never seen it playing. Like we've been looking at screenings for a long time. You would have pointed this out to me by now.
Now that I say it, I think it's just because I say that just because Kevin Smith is like a relatively big name director.
Yeah, but they would play like Jay and Smith. What? Silent
Jay
Bob.
And Silent Bob.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Also a Roger Ebert fave.
Yeah. Now that I say it, I'm like, I've never seen someone do a Kevin Smith.
Because nobody likes that movie. It's just me and Roger.
It's just you and Roger.
And he's gone.
Okay, well.
But yeah, if we saw that playing in a theater, 100% I'm going. Yeah. I don't care what time it's at.
Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts, recommendations, or plugs today?
Recommendations for what?
I don't know. See anything that you like recently besides The Curse? I mean, this
I see
is a
everything with
episode. Yeah. I don't know. It's still fucking January.
Yeah, I have no recommendations.
I don't know. Is
me
the
like?
last...
I mean, you can watch that clip of Nathan Fielder on Nathan For You that I've been watching all week. It's a good one. The What That Means one. It's good. That means. It's really good. You can follow my crocheting account, Lily's crocheting IG. Not the first Lily's. That was just me stumbling over my words.
Yes, we'll put a little.
Okay.
We'll put the handle at the bottom.
Yeah.
Because you've been getting really impressive with the stuff you've been putting out.
You.
So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'd love people to follow. And I think that's it for today. So I'd like to thank Lily Steinberg for her social media management, the promotional artwork she makes for every episode, and helping to produce the show, as well as coming to what ended up only being 1 out of 4 intended screenings, but still going out of her way, coming to a screening and doing the episode today. I want to thank Kristen Eng for her logo artwork. This has been Bad First Impression. You can find the show on all socials at BFI Pod. Please help the show by rating, reviewing, and subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcast. If you're listening to this, remember that we also have a video version that you can find on YouTube. So be sure to check that out.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe. Wait, wait.
That's what you say on YouTube.
You say like, comment, subscribe. What am I saying? Rate, review.
But that's what you do for podcasts. And then on YouTube, you say like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment,
and
subscribe.
Also, you're also supposed to say, hit the little bell so that you get notifications.
Hit the little bell so you get notifications.
Okay.
We're learning in real time how to promote this thing. Well, you're the social media manager, so way to do your job. If you have questions, suggestions, or thoughts, message us on social media or email us at mailbag@bfipod.com. You can ask us questions for us to answer on the show, tip us off to upcoming screenings or theaters that we haven't visited. You can suggest future subjects for us to cover, or just kind of tell us what you think of the show. And, if we see it, we will make time to read it out loud. Lastly, look forward to next week when Nicole Eva returns to the show for her first video podcast to discuss Cowboy Bebop, the movie. I'm actually really excited to sit down and do that conversation.
I'm excited to watch that.
Yeah. As always, I've been your host, Devin Warner. You can find me on social media at WhatIfDevin. And until next time,
bye.
Bye.